Guys, well, it's that time. We're here for another edition of the Healthy Relationships. And at this time, I want to say good afternoon or welcome once again, Petreece.
Thank you, Tiffany, and good afternoon to all our callers, listeners, viewers, right? And I'm happy to be here again. And just to share, because I had a few people messaging me and they said they didn't see the program on Facebook, on Isaac 98.1 FM Facebook page, but it was on the YouTube, FBN TV. And so I shared it with some persons from there. So just letting you all know that even if you don't see it on Isaac 98.1 FM Facebook page, Tiffany is always wonderfully faithful to upload it to the YouTube page. So don't fear. So, because Tiffany, they started. So just letting you all know that. So I'm continuing with this topic of confrontation. And today I'm looking at how to confront. So in last Monday's program, I would have addressed what is confrontation and why we avoid it. So today we're looking at how to confront. So if you're tuning in, you're hearing me, tell other persons, because this is a very, very critical skill to have if we need to have healthy relationships, because like it or not, all relationships, once they last long enough, there is something to talk to a person about. There is a necessity for confrontation. And again, remember, confrontation is not some kind of verbal hit and run, or I just want to give the person a piece of my mind. I don't care how they feel. It's not about confusion. It's not about any of those things. Of course, you can determine how a person will respond to your confrontation, even if you do it in a healthy way. But at least let us understand what a healthy confrontation looks like. All right? So confrontation refers to letting another person know when they are doing something you find offensive. It is letting another person know of the behaviors that might be adversely affecting the relationship. So constructive confrontation invites a deepening of the relationship by one's willingness to talk about those elements of the relationship that might be operating as impediments or barriers to intimacy. And of course, we understand intimacy is that giving and receiving of love in a relationship. This type of confrontation acknowledges that one wants to have a better relationship and is willing to collaborate with another person to make the relationship more rewarding for both parties. Remember, confrontation is not an easy thing. So if I am willing to confront you on something, it means I care about you, I care about the relationship. Because if I don't care about the relationship, like I'm saying, okay, this doesn't make any sense, I'm not going to confront. I may set up certain boundaries, or I might even pull back myself from the relationship a bit, right? So how do you confront well? The thing to do when planning a confrontation, I would say the first thing to do when planning a confrontation is to pray. That's what I do. Anytime I have to confront anyone, the first thing I do is pray. This should be your number one rule. After praying, you may find that you need an attitude adjustment, right? And that your spouse or friend does not need to be confronted. So many times, a situation comes up, it's there in your mind, you think you may need to confront, pray about it. Sometimes you may realize, wait, now, this is me though. This is me being too sensitive. This is me needing to adjust something about my thinking. All right? And it's not the friend or the spouse or whoever that needs to be confronted. Other times, you will need the Holy Spirit to guide your words, because a confrontation is necessary. So I always pray if I realize I need to confront, and I ask God to even prepare the person's heart and my heart to hear what is being said, because confrontation could teach us a lot of things about ourselves. We could go into a situation believing we have all the facts or we know all the things when we actually don't. And that's very, very important to understand. So the Art of Healthy Confrontation by Alicia McIntyre. She's a clinical social worker with the Stone Foundation Counseling Group, and she shares, how do you know when it is time to confront? If the issue just would not leave you alone, you are replaying it in your heads over and over again. It is probably a good indicator that it is time to address it. And I'm not sitting here saying that I've always done confrontations in the healthiest possible ways. I haven't. And thank God that he forgives, because yes, I would have felt very guilty. I would have even had to apologize, you know. So I'm saying that we can all learn. We can all learn and we can all improve in this very, very important skill. So some general guidelines for confrontation. Start the conversation with a positive statement. Start the conversation with a positive statement. For example, I care about our relationship, and there are some issues I would like us to look at together to figure out a way forward. In the workplace, if it's in the workplace, this might sound like, I care about the good work we are doing here, and I think there is more we can do to improve upon that. Here we have two people looking at a problem together rather than accusing or blaming each other. So you want to start the conversation with a positive statement. And then you want to, in a confrontation, state how you feel rather than pointing a finger. And I have shared many times on this program the importance of I statements. So I feel so. When you do so. And it really, really works in getting your point across. And once we practice this, it becomes easier. It becomes easier for us for that to be a go-to when we are facing conflict or even when we have to confront. So you state how you feel without pointing a finger. I feel. These are my feelings. I am not saying you, right? I feel. Because remember, again, once we hear you, people get defensive. So we try to use you. We try to use I or we and not you. Be flexible. Allow for the possibility that you might not have it right. And I think anytime we're going into a confrontation, don't ever believe that you have all the information, that your perspective is the right perspective, that everything you think you know are all the facts about a situation. So I think we always, this is one time I'm going to use the word always, we always have to have in our mind that this is my perspective. This is how I see it. And I love the person. I cherish our relationship, and therefore I'm confronting, but they may share things with me that I didn't consider, or that I didn't see, or I didn't interpret it that way, right? So be flexible and allow for that possibility that you may not have it right. So you say, I might not have understood correctly, but here is how I experienced it. Or here is how it came across to me. Or this is what I understand is happening. This is how it seems to me, right? Help me to understand it from your point of view. So you're going in there, giving the person the opportunity to explain things from their side, things you may have not ever considered. Choose your words in a way that shows that you are on the same team. I want to be on that team with you. I want to help you. I want us to be in this together. It is okay to say outright, I am not attacking you. I want us to look at this together. It's okay to say that. And you notice we're using a lot of I statements, not you statements. Again, you statements are perceived as aggressive, you, and therefore people, once they hear you, their natural position is to defend. or want to defend themselves. So saying something like, I'm not attacking you, I want us to look at this together, it achieves three things. One, an affirming positive effect. Two, it prepares your intended recipient ears, for listening. And three, it helps to inhibit any defensiveness. Another thing we want to be able to do in confronting, if the other person responds defensively, do not allow for distractions to the current subject. So, sometimes you do a confrontation and the person starts to say something like, well, you did that, I don't know, 3 years ago, or you did that yesterday, or you did that last month, or they start to talk about something else. And you can say, I am glad to speak about that, but for right now, I would like us to stay focused on. So you're not just ignoring that they would have said that, or say, you see this, I can't deal with this, you're just getting defensive, this makes no sense, that's why I don't talk to you, right? No, I am glad to talk about that. But for right now, I would like us to stay focused on. Acknowledge your part in that problem. So you're confronting a situation, but you are aware that you have also contributed to the problem that there is. Acknowledge your part, because all relationships are a dance where we are all capable of missteps, mistakes, sin, and hurting each other at any given time. So in all relationships, intimate relationships, right? Sometimes we're the perpetrators, sometimes we're the victim, and sometimes we're both perpetrator and victim. And it's important for us to be humble enough to accept that. Make your desired outcome clear. So you have a confrontation. Think about, what do I want at the end of this? So for example, I would like us to come up with some solutions that will help us. So we're doing this confrontation because I would like us to come up with solutions that will help us. Or my desire is that we can disagree without shouting at each other. Try to be as specific as possible. Can we agree that you will? Sometimes you may even want to put in a time frame for something. So you want to, and let me just say those again, you want to start the conversation with a positive statement. State how you feel rather than pointing the finger. Be flexible. Allow for the possibility that you might not have it right. Choose your words in ways that shows that you're on the same team. Help if the other person begins responding defensively. Do not allow for distractions to the current subject. Acknowledge your part in the problem. Make your desired outcome clear. And last, try to be as specific as possible. Now, this is important. Prepare for the possibility that it might not go well. If you have done all the things, but the individual is not listening or responding, then your next step is to set boundaries. And I think the caller in the last program, I had to share that. May be necessary to set boundaries. If there's an ongoing pattern of disrespect, your conversation will be more about making it clear what your response will be the next time that this behavior occurs. Serious issues such as alcohol or drug abuse or disregard for your physical boundaries, your personal space, may result in intervention from others. You want to get others involved because no, this person I've confronted and they're still engaging in harmful behavior. So this is going beyond just me and you now. All right. So whether sometimes even other professionals, health professionals, church leaders. I mean, if it's in work, you might want to get HR involved, because I have tried in terms of confronting and nothing good is coming of it, and it is harmful, right? So your next step, if you do that, you need to look at boundaries. Now, tips for confronting your spouse. And Dennis Rainey says, confronting your spouse with grace and tactfulness requires wisdom, patience, and humility. And I also say, once we have to confront anyone, I always say, please pray about that situation first. Pray first. We thank God that he gives us wisdom and even can give us clarity on what may be happening in us, why we need to confront, right? So the first thing Dennis Rainey is saying, check your motivation. Check your motivation. Will your words help or hurt? Am I bringing this up to cause healing, wholeness, and oneness, or further isolation? And I would even add here, am I doing this to get back at my spouse? Is this a tit for tat? So this is not a genuine confrontation, because confrontation, once both persons deal with it well, because confrontation can go badly if the other person doesn't take it well. Confrontation can go poorly or badly if you don't confront well, right? But sometimes we may confront because I just want to get back at you. I just want to get back at you. I want to hurt you in some way. So check your motivation. If it's a healthy motivation, the confrontation is because I want healing. I want wholeness. I want to help. I want us to be better. Check your attitude. Loving confrontation says, I care about you. I respect you, and I want you to respect me. I want to know how you feel. So the attitude involved in a confrontation of your spouse is, I care about you. I respect you and I want you to respect me. So you always approach your spouse lovingly. You don't confront in anger, right? That is not a healthy confrontation. Check the circumstances. So check your motivation, check your attitude, check the circumstances. This includes timing, location, and setting. Do not confront your spouse, for example, when they're tired, from a hard day's work, right? Don't try to confront your spouse when they just sit down to relax, to watch some, the sports that only happening right now, right? It is playing right now, right? In the middle of some kind of conflict between the children and you want to confront. That is not a good time. So check your circumstances, right? Check to see what pressures may be present. Be sensitive to where your spouse is coming from. What is the context of your spouse's life right now? So if your spouse just lost a very close loved one, this may not be the best time to confront, about something you think that he or she could be doing better or putting more effort into. Listen to your spouse. So check your motivation, check your attitude, check the circumstances, check to see what other pressures may be present, and listen to your spouse. Seek to understand his or her view and ask questions to clarify the viewpoint. So you always going into confrontation again. I do not know all. I do not have all the information. This is my perspective. This is what I believe, and I can be wrong. So you want to go into a confrontation to truly listen. And that's why a confrontation is not, I'm just sharing, giving a piece of my mind. That is a verbal hit and run. It's like somebody knock you down and then they leave you there to lick your wounds. And that is not loving. And that is not a healthy confrontation. So we always go into a confrontation with that understanding. I need to listen. I need to even listen to hear things about myself where I might be impacting the relationship. Be sure you are ready to take it as well as dish it out. You may start to give your spouse some, friendly advice. So talking to you about this, we confronting on this, and soon learn that what you are saying is not really his or her problem, but is yours. So understand, confrontations can be like that. During the discussion, stick to one issue at a time. And actually, sticking to one issue at a time, even when we have disagreements, conflicts, we should stick to one issue at a time. And this is also true for confrontation. Do not bring up several issues. Do not save up a series of complaints and let your spouse have them all at once. That is not a healthy confrontation. Focus on the problem rather than the person. For example, you need a budget and your spouse is a spendthrift. As far as you concern, a spendthrift, they're always spending money. So you don't say, because you are this. No, let's focus on the problem. Part of the problem is we're not budgeting. So we bring that as what we need to do. So work through the plans for finances and make a lack of budget the enemy, not your spouse. So then if a problem comes up, we can talk about that. We are not sticking to the budget and we need to do that. So you're not making your enemy the spouse. Your spouse the enemy, your enemy the spouse. You're not making your spouse the enemy. And therefore, in doing it like that, a person starts to understand where they're getting things wrong, and where they need to change, right? Focus on behavior rather than character. Focus on behavior rather than character. This is the you message versus the I message, right? This is a critical one. For healthy relationships, we need to do I or we, not you. So you can assassinate your spouse's character and stab at him or her right in the heart with you messages like, you're always late. You don't care about me at all. You don't care about anyone else but yourself. The I message would say, I feel frustrated and disappointed that you don't let me know that you would be running late so that we can make other plans. Instead of saying, I know you don't care about me at all, or you don't care about me at all. You're such an inconsiderate person. Use I messages. I feel so and so when you do so and so. And if you would do this, it could help with this. So you're staying with your I messages. I would appreciate if you do X, Y, and Z. Focus on the facts rather than judging motives. Many times we don't know a person's motives. We could sit in judgment and think, I know they're doing this for spite. I know this is why my husband did so and so. I sure this is why my wife did so and so. And sometimes we may be right, but I'm hoping that most times we're not, right? Focus on the facts rather than judging motives. If your spouse forgets to make an important call, deal with the consequences of what you both must do rather than say, it's so careless, you just do things to irritate me. So you're saying that they did what they did. Their motive was just to irritate you. Focus on the consequences, right? Because you didn't make that important call, we now have to wait 2 more months to get an appointment. So focus on the consequences. Don't assume that this person is deliberately doing something to irritate you. So even in this, when you're confronting, you are not focusing on motives. You want to focus on facts, focus on outcomes of situations. Above all, focus on understanding your spouse. Focus on understanding your spouse, right? You're not focusing on who is winning or losing. So that's why in going into a confrontation with anyone, and especially a spouse, I want to understand why this is happening. What is he thinking? What is his or her perspective, right? And remember, in marriage, if one is winning while the other is losing, reality is, the reality check, you are both losing. There's no such thing as one winning and one losing in marriage, and somebody's actually winning in that situation. You are both losing, right? So I want you to think back. So you're listening to me today, right? I want you to think back to a confrontation that did not go well. Can you determine whether more attention to one or more of the things that I would have just shared, right, could have made it a more fruitful confrontation or a more fruitful discussion, right? Pray for the courage to confront and the love and self-awareness to keep those confrontation positive contributors to the intimacy in your relationship and in your home as husbands and wives, right? So I believe in God wanting to answering our prayers, because God is interested in us having healthy relationships. It is paramount. Again, the greatest commandments: love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then Jesus said, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. And part of that love also involves healthy confrontation. So in reflection, think about these questions. Do you tend to confront without thinking or even without praying about it? Do you have trouble mustering the emotional energy to confront? Because some persons really conflict averse and they don't like to confront. So even just mustering the emotional energy, Petreece, I can't, right? Do you find that you confront too harshly, or it's almost like this is not a confrontation at all? The person could just say, okay, at the end, and feel like there's nothing to think about here. There's nothing to discuss. So you're confronted with little or no force at all. Does your current confrontation style work for you? Does it produce results? Are you usually happy with the results, right? And we have to remember certain things in our relationships we would have to confront. From as far as you can see, I've had to do it. My husband has had to do it with me. It is necessary because, again, confront is bringing something, to the front that the other person isn't seeing, isn't aware of. And Reka, she's a life coach, and she shared, for many years, I maintained a relationship that I was not happy with. I am sure a lot of people have been there or are there right now. I did not feel there was equality in the relationship. I always seemed to be the one given, yet I consistently felt like I was getting nothing out of it. A close friend of mine asked me why I tolerated the behavior of the person in question. As usual, a few excuses passed through my mind. The other person was going through a rough time. I felt I should be there for them. They probably would not respond to how I was feeling anyway, so I should strive to be the bigger or the better person. I let the excuses wear on for over a decade, until one day I realized I needed to make a change. There was one point in silently wishing, there was no point in silently wishing the person would be better or hoping they would eventually acknowledge that I deserve the same respect and support I gave them. After more than 10 years without change, I wondered what on earth I was expecting. Did I think this person would suddenly have an epiphany? Maybe another 10 years later? Gently, slowly, I started to realize that I had to do something I had never done before. I decided to confront them about it without aggression or anger. The next time they treated me in a way that I thought was unacceptable, I would say something. I would let them know that they were being unfair or unkind. I would not try to sugarcoat it. I would just be honest about how I felt. The moment came and I said what I needed to say. I was willing to accept that they may never agree with me or apologize, but I had to be true to myself. I had to say something with no expectations. And this is very important, listeners. Just a commitment to stand up for myself when it was necessary. To my surprise, I received an apology. I would have been okay without it, having concluded that purely standing up for myself, for my beliefs, was enough for me. But the heartfelt apology made me realize how unnecessarily I had sacrificed myself and my needs. Since then, my relationship with this person has greatly improved. This is Rika saying, I am not suggesting that you go around telling everybody exactly what you think of them all the time, nor am I advocating generating negativity in your relationships over minor events. What I am saying is that if you genuinely feel wronged by somebody else, you are the person responsible for making them aware. It helps us all when we are willing to teach each other to be better and not shy away from it because it is painful or embarrassing. The next time you feel you have been unfairly treated by another, take these steps to address it. 1, think on it. Before you confront this person, think about the situation. Have you truly been treated badly? Is there anything else that might be contributing to your emotions? Bounce the situation off a trusted friend with no agenda other than to explore it. Take some time to understand your feelings. If you still feel the same, you are probably onto something. And I was speaking to a gentleman just last night, and just speaking about because his love language is words of affirmation and because he is sensitive, sometimes when his wife will give him feedback, which is a criticism of something he would have done, he would have taken it really poorly. And because of that, shut down. And he felt it was because his wife was just too critical. When really what was happening, he needed to increase his self-awareness and realize words affect him profoundly. And he has an issue dealing with criticism from persons he's very close to, and therefore see it as this is an area he needed to work on, not that his wife was doing anything wrong or inappropriate. And it's important that self-awareness is extremely important if we have to have healthy relationships. So even as you take some time to understand you and your feelings, if you still feel the same, you're probably onto something. You probably will need to talk about this, right? And that's why sometimes it's important to explore things, to talk to someone and try to give the facts as best as you can. Share all the information, right? Don't try to paint yourself in some good light. Number two, consider the triggers. If you decide that you are being wrong and you wish to speak up, think about the situations and encounters with this person that tend to upset you. What usually triggers you? How do you feel when they upset you? Do you get a sensation of feeling, like a tightness in your chest or like heat in your head? Right? It is important to explore this because when you confront them, you need to be prepared to do so calmly and rationally. If you choose to speak up when you are feeling emotional, you may undermine your point. So be aware of the triggers within you so that you can feel them without letting them control you. So I know when I'm talking to this person, certain things happen and I feel this. So yes, okay. So I know I feel this and I can be okay with the feeling. The calmer you are, the less likely you are to appear irrational and like just a drama queen or a drama king. Number three, set reasonable expectations. Very, very important. Before you approach the individual, be prepared. Be prepared for the possibility that you will say your piece and they will disagree with you. So a confrontation doesn't mean I have everything right and this person is just going to agree with me, right? If you go into this with an expectation of an apology or acknowledgement of being in the wrong, you may feel like, doing all of this, saying what you need to say did not work. Remember, a lot of times it is about standing up for yourself, being true to who you are, but also a heart that the relationship could be better or the person could realize something about themselves where they're able to change, right? This is very important. It's important, right? Which means you need to be open to the potential consequences. And you need to know how you will respond if this does not go as you hoped. So if you have an expectation of it going this wonderful way, and of course it doesn't, you could end up being very upset and probably even saying and doing things that you're not proud of. Be prepared also for new information. Keep saying that. That might make you reconsider your position. Oh, I thought, okay. So enter the situation with an open heart and mind. Enter the situation with a desire to communicate clearly. Enter the situation with a willingness to find a solution if possible. And then, number four, choose your words carefully. Know what you're going to say in advance. Be honest and straightforward. There's no need to drag up previous incidents that, right, they are not relevant, that are not relevant here. Focus on precisely what has happened that has upset you and explain your reasoning. Listen to their response. If they are willing to engage you on it, be open to this. Perhaps there is something for you to learn, and I feel there's always something for us to learn. If they respond with anger or aggression, be gentle but firm in your position. Remember, this is an opportunity to stand up for yourself. If you feel proud of yourself, you will feel proud of yourself if you can be clear and honest, even if the outcome is not what you hoped it would be. Relationships can be difficult. So I empathize with the pain, the worry, and the anxiety that you may feel confronting or communicating your needs to someone you care about. confrontations are never, I don't like them, but they are necessary from time to time, and they are necessary if you love someone and you want them to be better, right? But of course, they can cause you to be anxious. They can cause pain, right? And sometimes it might feel like an impossible challenge. It may feel like that. Remember, take the time necessary to learn how to resolve conflicts well. Take the time to learn about confrontation because it is actually one of the most important relational skills. And I would have done this when I looked at that whole series of the necessary skills for relationships. If you want relationships to be healthy, this is a skill that you need to have. All right, so Tiffany, turning over to you, and even as I'm turning over to you,
Sure.
right? Some general guidelines for confrontation, but I just want to close with that. But
Mm-hmm.
in case you have a call or something, we can
Okay.
take that.
Yes. Go right ahead.
All right. So again, start the conversation with a positive statement. I care about our relationship. State how you feel rather than pointing a finger and using your I statements. I feel so and so when you do so and so. Be flexible. Allow for the possibility that you might not have it right. So you speak like that. Don't speak like you know for sure. Choose your words in a way that shows that we're on the same team. I am not attacking you. I want us to look at this together. If the other person begins responding defensively, do not allow distractions to the current subject. I'll be glad to talk about that, but right now I would like us to look at this situation. Acknowledge your part in the problem, make your desired outcomes clear, and try to be as specific as possible. Yeah?
Thank you, Petreece. Thank you for that one. I didn't see any calls coming in, but if
Sure.
you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it on the WhatsApp 2751981, and I will send it to Petreece. I'm also going to share a message only number 329-7383. Send her a message there, and she's going to respond to you. And of course, I'm going to do my homework right after I stop the recording
And
and
really
get these
appreciate.
programs in for you guys. All right, so Petreece, once again, I say thank you to you. I know next week will be a holiday, so that will be a rebroadcast. All right, so we'll drop a rebroadcast for you guys if you missed it. All right, remember it's on FVN TV and that's on YouTube, and Isaac the Promise on Facebook. It's gonna be there for you guys, and make sure you share it with someone. All right, don't keep it to yourself.
Yes.
Share it with someone. All right, so Petreece, so once again, I say thank you to you. Have a
You're
blessed Monday
welcome.
afternoon. God's blessings to you and the entire
Same
family.
to you.
Until we
Thank
meet again,
you.
God
All
bless you.
right. God bless.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.